Okay, so we got Xeno and why Emu works where Kaguya failed, and I'm just gonna say something before even playing it. It's pretty obvious Kaguya was introduced in like the last 20 chapters of Naruto Shippuden. Meanwhile, Emu was introduced like 200, 300 chapters ago, and we always kind of knew that the world government was dangerous in the context in the world of One Piece. Kaguya just felt like a random villain, and the reason Kaguya was even created was because Madara had become way, way, way too strong to even defeat. Like, Madara was overpowered. The reason Emu was created, though, is, simply to symbolize the world government, etc. Like, Emu is just better written.
There are a few similarities when it comes to how Emu and Kaguya played their roles in One Piece and Naruto.
But yeah, Kaguya kind of ruined Naruto's ending, to be honest. Kishimoto made Madara too strong.
Respectively. They were introduced quite late into the story, and they have been written to become a final boss type of villain, to where the entire world cannot be safe if they are not taken down by the main protagonist. They both have huge ties to the lore and the entire history of both series, and even though they were both huge figures in the past, they still played major roles as antagonists in the present time. So although Emu and Kaguya are quite similar as final antagonists goes, there is still a huge divide when it comes to how both of these characters are being received by the audience. One of the main issues people had with Naruto's War arc is the fact that they did not like how Kaguya replaced Madara as the final villain of the Fourth Great Ninja War. But when it comes to Emu,
because Madara was literally hyped up since like chapter 300 or something. Like, people were always talking about Madara Uchiha being a legendary name. Madara Uchiha was like a household name. So you can't just up and replace him with Kaguya. Nobody knew who Kaguya was.
Seems to have the opposite effect. Because Emu was added to the story, people are now even more interested in the voice century and Emu's ties to Joy Boy. And when Emu was only seen as a silhouette, fans were eager to see what he actually looked like and what types of powers and abilities he possesses. So it's the complete opposite compared to—
Bro, some people didn't even think Emu was gonna be male. Some people were hoping Emu was like some female baddie. Like, some One Piece fans are gooners, bro.
How the fans reacted to Kaguya's introduction. And I'm going to go through a couple of reasons on why I think Emu works as a final villain and why Kaguya failed to do so. So the first thing that Emu had over Kaguya was how well he was built up compared to how Kaguya was being built up. Let's look at how Kaguya was built up. The first we hear about Kaguya was during a conversation between Hashirama and Madara, where Madara explains the origin of chakra and the story of how Kaguya ate the chakra fruit from the divine tree and gained immense power. This was the first time we hear about Kaguya, and this was in the final arc of the Naruto series. It was less than 100 chapters before the Naruto manga ended, which made her debut quite lackluster when she got revived. When we look at how other villains in Naruto have been built up, they were done a lot better than Kaguya was.
Yeah, like, bro, how am I supposed to compare Kaguya to literally freaking 10 out of 10 character-written villains like Obito Uchiha, Pain/Nagato, Madara Uchiha, heck, even Zabuza. Zabuza was like a peak villain, bro. Zabuza is at least a 9 out of 10 villain or antagonist. Technically, I wouldn't even say Zabuza is really a villain. He's more so an antagonist. But yeah, like, Zabuza was a 9 out of 10 at least. Like, at the very bare minimum, at a low ball, Zabuza is like 9 out of 10 character writing. Kaguya is like a 5 out of 10, bro. Kaguya, not a good villain.
The first time we see Pain was during part 1 Naruto at the very end of the Sasuke retrieval arc, where we see the Akatsuki gathered together, and we didn't see his full face at the time, we only saw his Rinnegan. Then, during the Akatsuki suppression arc, we only saw his face partially when he was talking to Hidan and Kaguzu. And it's not until the Itachi pursuit mission where we finally see Pain's full appearance.
Like, bro, even not as a villain, but as a character, even Conan right here has better character writing than Kaguya. Kaguya just wasn't built up, man.
The leader of the Akatsuki. Madara has been built up since the end of part 1.
Like, end of the day, it's not some huge, like, it's not this guessing game of, oh, why do people not like Kaguya as the final villain? Like, it's right in your face. It's obvious. The reasons are obvious.
Where we see his statue at the final valley. And throughout part 2 of Naruto, the man in the mask went by the name of Madara for a long time, until the Fourth Great Ninja War, where we finally see the real Madara being reanimated as part of his plan. And that's part of why his fight against the Shinobi Alliance is so iconic and beloved by fans, because his character has been built up for hundreds of chapters, and we finally get the payoff during the final arc of the story. But with Kaguya, she was mentioned and was introduced during the later stages of the war.
I want to contrast between Madara and Aizen from Bleach real quick. So Aizen, he's kind of like, you know, the perfect villain. He never really gets like, he never really gets shaken up by anything. And I just want to note, like, they're both great villains, but I just want to note, I really like, how Hashirama was like Madara's rival. I like that Madara doesn't seem to be like this immortal, perfect ninja or whatever, or he's not like perfect like Aizen. I feel like that gives him a little bit more depth as a character. Now, I still think Aizen is the better villain, but like as a character, I like how Madara wasn't like completely unbeatable, if you get what I mean. Like Madara isn't, you know, he's just not completely unbeatable. He had his rival Hashirama. You know, Hashirama was arguably stronger than Madara. And I just really like that, because while Madara Uchiha is like, you know, top 10 in the verse, he's not like this godly, unbeatable character. So I really just love how Kishimoto made Madara have a rival in the form of, you know, Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage.
So it felt like Kaguya was just shoehorned into the story.
It makes Madara feel a little bit more human, like a person, you know. He's not like this perfect, being who just can't be defeated.
And that Kishimoto only thought to bring her into the story at the last minute. But Imu's introduction didn't have that same issue. Imu was first shown during the Reverie around 900 chapters into the story, so it is still quite late into the post-timeskip of the story. But after we see
Imu was introduced in like episode 800, and now we have like, what, 1100 episodes? Yeah, Imu literally, the one time that One Piece having so many episodes actually benefits it is, yes, the final villain Imu, because, bro, honestly, One Piece might never end at this point, but it's just an advantage in this case, because Imu was technically, even though Imu was introduced like very late in the story, technically Imu was also introduced early in the story because of how many chapters One Piece has. Like, we've known Imu for like 300 chapters and 300 episodes. So this is the one singular time that One Piece's horrible pacing benefits it.
The first time, he wasn't immediately dealt with, because after the Reverie arc, the story was heading into the Wano arc, and that arc was focused on taking down Kaido and Big Mom. So Imu was first shown briefly at the Reverie, but he wasn't the main focus at the time, because taking down Kaido was the main priority of the Full Emperor saga.
Bro, the power creep in One Piece is crazy. Some people are arguing that Loki is stronger than Kaido, which maybe it's true. I don't read the manga, I just keep up with spoilers. But like Kaido, during Wano, Kaido, like the way I view Kaido in general is he's the strongest, like in the One Piece verse in like a weird way. Obviously not including, you know, Sun God, Nika, Joy Boy, and Imu, but like Kaido's durability and endurance, bro. Like, you need advanced conquerors to even scar Kaido. And even when Zoro scarred Kaido with Enma, that was still only kind of like a small slash. Like, Kaido's body, his durability is insane, bro. And then his endurance, he carried up Onigashima for like 5 days, 3 days. Like, if Loki is actually stronger than Kaido, then One Piece has a crazy power creep. I'm just gonna be 100% with you, because Kaido was a beast. Like, he was a unit, bro. And if you're already telling me there's somebody stronger than Kaido, that's where it gets crazy, man.
And then after Wano, we see that Imu initiated the attack on the Lucia Kingdom.
The curse of the power creep.
And then later on in the Egghead arc, we see more of Imu during the conversation he had with Cobra, and we even see his transformation when he attacked Sabo, although it was only a silhouette at the time, and this only added more mystery to Imu. And currently in Elbaf, Imu is the main antagonist of this arc, but I don't see this being the final battle against Imu, since there is still going to be a final war against the world government. And the mural that was shown on Elbaf suggests that Imu will be taken down at a later time in the story. So after almost 300 chapters since Imu was introduced, we are still getting more clues and more background on Imu as a character. We see that Imu has been operating in the shadows the entire time, and currently, Imu still hasn't been taken down yet, nor do we know Imu's involvement during the Void Century. Whereas with Kaguya, she was first mentioned by Madara during the war arc in chapter 646, then 33 chapters later she makes a full appearance, and then 11 chapters later Team 7 defeats her. So all of this was done in less than 100 chapters since.
The only good part about Kaguya was that it gave Black Zetsu a role, you know? Like, cause I was always like, I've always seen Black Zetsu. Like, I remember when I was first watching Shippuden, I was like, oh, what's this guy's power? What's he about? So like, Kaguya literally only served to help Black Zetsu as a character, you know, giving Black Zetsu a, you know, motivation to do what he does, and, you know, his goals and ambitions, which was, you know, to free Kaguya, the mother or whatever. But like, yeah, that's literally the only benefit to Kaguya. Like, Kaguya as a character was not well written. Again, her only purpose was to upscale Zetsu's character writing.
It was first name dropped. That is simply
That's the way I view it, at least.
too short of a time for Kaguya to be utilized like this if she was supposed to be the final antagonist of the 4th Great Ninja War. And another reason why Imu also works as a final villain over Kaguya is the fact that Kaguya didn't really have much of a connection to the main
I think a lot of mangakas just don't understand like the importance of build-up. Like Jujutsu Kaisen, spoilers, Kenjaku had a lot more potential, and Yuta literally just kind of, you know, taking out Kenjaku in one strike, the little bush camper that he is crazy. Like, Kenjaku basically got one shot, and then his role in the story was gone. And even at the same time, Yuki kind of had this special grade buildup, but then she loses against Kenjaku, and Kenjaku has an anti-gravity technique. Like, both of those fights were kind of horrible. Yuki versus Kenjaku was horrible because Yuki didn't get payoff for her buildup, and Kenjaku versus Yuta was horrible because, I don't know, I felt like Kenjaku could have done more, man. I don't know.
protagonist, unlike with Imu. Kaguya was the originator of chakra, and she was the ancestor of the Uchiha, the Senju, the Hyuga, and the Uzumakis. That's about the only connection Kaguya has with Naruto, the protagonist. But when it comes to the clash of ideals and the actual personal conflict between them, it was pretty non-existent. Kaguya's goal was just to unify all chakra and take all of the chakra for herself. It's a very surface level goal, which is unlike most villains in Naruto, because a lot of the
Yeah, bro, literally we had Madara trying to create the infinite Tsukuyomi so everybody could be in a world of peace, a world similar to heaven. We also had Obito, who also agreed with the plan, you know. And Obito wasn't just a simp because of Rin. He wasn't only doing it because of Rin. Rin was just the final branch, the final needle. Like, Obito had always been annoyed at the rotten ninja world, and then Rin dying was just the nail in the coffin. Rin was not the sole reason that Obito, you know, did all of this. And then we also have Nagato, or Pain, who literally suffered the same fate that he was trying to do to the Leaf Village at the hands of the Leaf Village. Like, the Leaf Village attacked his nation first. So Pain is kind of based. I'm going to be honest.
villains in Naruto always had personal connections with Naruto in different ways. Pain was Naruto's sibling student who killed Jiraiya, and they both had a clash of ideals over what was the best way to attain peace. Obito was similar to Naruto in that they were both untalented.
Bro, it's so annoying because I still can't really rank these three titans of villains, bro. Like, Obito, Madara, and Pain. Like, it's hard to rank them in terms of overall writing. The truth is, I think I would say that even though Madara is very cool and he's an aura farmer, I think Madara would be last. I really like what Nagato / Pain represents, just, you know, like the cycle of hatred, etc. But I also really like Obito's character because Obito went from being like Naruto, and Obito went from being good to becoming bad, and then to finally becoming good again, right? Obito, when he was a kid, he was good. Then, you know, Rin died, he became bad, and then Naruto was able to snap him out of this, you know, nihilism, and Obito actually sacrificed his life to save Naruto in the final war arc. So Obito became good for the second time. If I'm trying to be unbiased, even though I really like how Obito had like so much character development, again, being good, then becoming bad, then becoming good again, I think the best villain, I think the best written villain has to be Nagato. It has to be Pain. And then second would be Obito, third would be Madara. Just in terms of like overall character writing, complexity, themes, etc. And while this guy's opinion might not matter that much, Akira Toriyama, like Dragon Ball's editor has gone viral for saying that Jujutsu Kaisen, Blue Lock, Chainsaw Man, and this other anime are trash and stuff or whatever, or that, modern anime doesn't hit the same as older anime. All this to say is that, the editor that Akira Toriyama hated, who said, modern anime sucks, he actually did say that Naruto peaked during the Pain arc. So all of this is really just to say that even Dragon Ball's old editor, agreed that like the Pain arc was the peak of Naruto, which kind of implies that Pain is the best villain, right? Best arc centered around this villain, so. But at the same time, it's kind of I'm kind of contradicting myself because, the editor said JJK was trash and Chainsaw Man was trash, which they clearly aren't. So honestly, I don't even know why I used his opinion to try and like credit my argument, but whatever.
And they both had the same goal of becoming Hokage.
I at least just wanted to bring up that point.
But then after losing Rin, Obito pretty much became a darker Naruto if he lost his friends and went on a darker path.
Bro, Obito was literally Naruto.
So Naruto was the only one who could get through to him during that fight. And this also applies to Gaara, Sasuke, Madara, and even Zabuza and Haku. So
Bro, Zabuza was peak.
Because Kaguya lacked depth and had no philosophy that could clash with Naruto's, it made Kaguya feel empty and bland, which is why she doesn't really resonate well with the audience compared to other major villains in Naruto. Naruto's fights are not just about who is stronger, they are also based on the clash of ideals and the stories being told in these fights. So for Kaguya to not have any depth or philosophy that...
When it comes to villains, almost no anime beat Naruto, and that's just the truth. Because you gotta understand, 3 10 out of 10 villains. Obito, Madara, Nagato. It's insane. The only animes that come close to Naruto in terms of villains is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure due to Cars, Dio, Funny Valentine, and what else? Diavolo's great. There's also Wonder of You. I don't remember the villain's name, but like Wonder of You is a very like popular enemy stand. So yeah, really all that comes close is really, again, JoJo's, maybe Hunter x Hunter, since, we have Chrollo, even Hisoka. Bro, Meruem, 10 out of 10 villain. Meruem is insane. Yeah, Meruem is insane. So yeah, I'll say Hunter x Hunter and JoJo's. I don't really think there's any other anime that really come that close in terms of villains. I guess you could count Bleach if you want to. Aizen is peak, but the other villains aren't that good. Yuha, he's kind of cool. Kirishima, the guy who changed Ichigo's family's memories, I think his name was Kirishima. He was okay.
could clash with Naruto makes Kaguya a pretty disappointing villain compared to what came before her. But this is different with Imu. Imu actually has a connection with Luffy, because Luffy has the human fruit, Model Nico.
But just to clarify and emphasize, most animes only have like one 10 out of 10 villain. For example, from JoJo's you could say Dio, from Hunter x Hunter you could say Meruem, from Bleach you could say Aizen. But Naruto has 3. Naruto literally made 3 10 out of 10 villains. Pain, Madara, Obito.
Which is the exact same fruit that Joy Boy had. And Imu was the main enemy of Joy Boy, who defeated him during the Void Century, when the Ancient Kingdom was defeated by the 20 Kingdoms. And in terms of the themes of the story, Luffy represents freedom and the sun, which symbolizes the dawn of a new era. But Imu represents oppression, dominion, and control over the world. Imu goes against everything Luffy believes in. Luffy is always
Yeah, for
fighting for
sure.
freedom wherever he goes. He has
What was Kaguya even fighting for, like, honestly?
taken down many villains who planned on controlling and oppressing those they deem weaker than them. But Luffy would always come in and liberate those islands by defeating those villains, and this remains consistent throughout the entire series. And now it seems that after Luffy defeats Imu and the world government, true freedom can finally be attained. And another connection between them is that when Imu descended on Elbaf, there seemed to be drums or music playing once he made his descent. Similar to how when Luffy goes into Gear 5, you hear the drums of liberation. So this shows more of a connection between Imu and the main protagonist of the story. So I think the reasons why Imu works as a final villain and not Kaguya is because of how well he was built up compared to how Kaguya was being built up. And there was actually more of a connection between Imu and Luffy in terms of the overall.
These are literally the main 2 points. This is it, bro. Honestly, it's really just this one, man. Kaguya, nobody knew who Kaguya was. Like, literally, when people were watching Naruto Shippuden, nobody knew who Kaguya was. Imu has been here for 300 chapters.
Narrative of the story, compared to Naruto and Kaguya, who didn't really have a clash of ideals, which is what Naruto's fights are all about. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you'd like to see more of my
Yeah, like Naruto was so peak, bro. Like, clash of ideals, like, I love it, bro, and themes and stuff, man. Even from One Piece, my favorite villains are probably like Katakuri and Doflamingo, because Luffy actually kind of was fighting their ideology. Now, a lot of people consider Doflamingo the best One Piece villain, but honestly, I think I kind of like Katakuri a tad bit more, just because, I don't know, Katakuri felt like he still had morals, and he was kind of a good guy in a way, I guess, but he still, was fighting Luffy and stuff. I don't know. It's hard to put into words, but as an antagonist, Katakuri was 10 out of 10 in my opinion. Katakuri's fight with Luffy was so peak, man. Just the dynamics. Again, I really don't know how to put it into words. It just felt like it was a lot more unique because Luffy didn't fight Big Mom, who was, technically supposed to be the main antagonist. Luffy was actually fighting a Yonko Commander 1. So that made the fight feel especially as unique, but also just Luffy and Katakuri kind of had similar devil fruits, etc. Like, I don't know why. Katakuri was just a 10 out of 10 villain for me.